Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Continuing Through Corona. I'm very, very excited. We've got a very special guest today, Melissa Green from BOQ. And to just introduce her and to help anyone understand who Melissa is that may not know her, she is currently the owner manager of BOQ Mackay City and has actually worked for BOQ for over 25 years. She started as a teller and became an OM in 2007. So BOQ has actually been her only employer, which is pretty awesome. This is now a family-run business in the truest sense of the word, with her husband Jason Green, which is the branch manager, and her sister Rebecca, which is the retail lending specialist, which has been working alongside Melissa for the last 12 years. She's past award winner of many, many things, too many to share about, and a very, active part of the community, doing lots and lots of things, which is absolutely phenomenal. And, the last thing down here is, BOQ Mackay City is current banking partner for the Mackay Hospital Foundation, and over the last 10 years has actually purchased over $120,000 of equipment for the Mackay-based hospital, which is really phenomenal. So welcome, Melissa. It's great to have you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Thanks, Brady.
Awesome. So knowing obviously you're in the banking, industry and the banking category, what I'd really love to do is to ask you some questions around that, which is really going to help, some people that are in business themselves and maybe even just some people in general to get a bit more certainty about this particular time and get some knowledge around what it is that they can do. So, in regards to businesses that currently believe that their business is going okay, and once the health restrictions start to lift more and more, do you think that they should be applying for assistance in any sense? What are your thoughts around that for businesses who currently think that they're going okay?
Yeah, look, my opinion is unless you want to borrow some money in the next sort of 3 to 6 months, I think if you want to apply for hardship and it's available to you, I personally believe you should apply for it. The relief options can vary from bank to bank. So, however, all banks have a deferment option available of 6 months of payments for business lending and for people with equipment finance if their loans are under $10 million. And for home loans, the banks are offering between 3 and 6 months worth of deferment of repayments. So in these cases, the interest is actually being capitalised, which means put on top of the loan during that period of time. And then what we're actually doing as well as adding an extra 3 to 6 months to the end of your loan term, because we know it's unfair to catch up those repayments really quickly. And so what we're going to do is recalculate or recast the repayments over that remainder. So the average home loan in Australia will see an increase. I think it's like $11 per month, basically, after this is all said and done. I've had some clients that have actually been saving this extra money because they're actually maybe not eligible they know they're not going to be eligible for lending in the future, or so they're just maybe just keeping us a bit of a cash buffer just to assist with it during those times. I've actually had a few people actually apply for the rebates and things like that, and actually now actually want to make those repayments. So, and if they're allowed to without penalty, then I'm just saying, yeah, go for it, put those extra monies in. Some people as well are actually able to have interest only repayments for 12 months. In those particular cases, I just say be cautious, because at some point you've got to pay the piper. So your future repayments will actually be more dramatically increased. So, but just be careful about that anyway.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, that's some really good advice, because, I know for myself that I had some questions around that, so that cleared it up. So for businesses or anyone that doesn't, or that doesn't really have any loans, is there anything the bank can do to help still?
Yeah, so most of those cases we're referring them to their accountant, but they have got available for them. We can actually waive their maintenance fees, like to the end of September, on their business accounts. There's also been some relief options on their merchant facilities. But yeah, have a conversation with your bank. We'll definitely do everything we can.
Yeah, sure. All right, cool. So let's say someone's business is in some real trouble, and the accounts have been transferred to an asset management department. What tips do you have for dealing with that particular or with the bank in that regard?
Yeah. And so for those particular clients, we've probably actually been seeing they might have had some hardship previous to the COVID happening, and maybe COVID's just sort of really tipping them over the edge. So at the moment, if you're just experiencing hardship just due to COVID, you're not being transferred immediately. But if you do end up getting transferred to an asset management department, I'll probably just have a few tips here. So probably just you need to seek proper expert advice. So a skilled advisor who will know what the bank and its advisors actually want, and to really be able to communicate more effectively on your behalf. I know I sometimes have to make these calls for my clients because they can't really communicate effectively. I would also just say you need to accept the situation for what it is and work with the bank. So a company that defaults in a loan is rarely in a strong position to bargain with the bank. I think also you need to be honest. So the bank likes certainty and predictability. So the last thing that we want is surprise, particularly a bad one. So when communicating with the bank, be very factual. Don't withhold information, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah.
We really want to make sure you deliver an achievable plan. So business owners, although they might be more willing to take risks because that's in our nature, we're entrepreneurial, but the bank has a different view. They really want to try to reduce this exposure to risk as much as possible. So we really want to understand your true financial position. We really want to understand why do you have these underlying problems. We want to understand your plan to reduce your financial distress. We want to understand how you think you're going to recover from this situation. We want to understand your intention to repay. And probably lastly, what are your milestones and objections? Because, you know, at some point there will be a cut-off date. So, but yeah, what do you think that is? I think just also prepare emotionally. Look, talking to a bank and then when you're in this situation is really, really confronting and very stressful. And especially after someone has put all their blood, sweat and tears into a business and channeled everything into this, you'll now feel you're at the mercy of the bank. So as hard as it is, try to keep the emotion out of it. I sometimes recommend you have someone that's not as invested in your business as you to sometimes help with those conversations. Try to have a plan B and plan C as well. So look for alternate sources of fundings as a backup plan, because some banks aren't too particularly keen to lend to particular industries, and they might want to end their funding relationship with you. But just the communication. So, and also don't ask your existing or previous relationship banker to get involved, because as soon as it sort of gets transferred to asset management department, they're actually removed from the situation, so they can't help you, unfortunately. But you just want to make sure you keep the lines of communication open and just keep that good working relationship with the bank. Basically, don't promise anything that you can't deliver upon. That's my major topic.
Yeah, sure. And I guess for just for while we're on that topic of, I guess, businesses that are in real trouble, you know, from your perspective, obviously being in business quite a long time now yourself, what advice would you have around businesses that maybe COVID did rattle them and they didn't have any contingency plans in place? They weren't ready at all for it, but it didn't make too big of an impact. What advice would you have for businesses now that we know that something like this is going to happen again in the future? And, what should we be doing to make sure that we're ready for something else that is going to happen?
So it's all those things that your probably mum and dad used to say. I know I'm probably the most boring person on earth talking about. You got to have those fallback. You got to have that pillow to fall back upon. Business is the most unpredictable beast there is. And I know myself personally, I just don't like being forced down option A only. I like B and C. I don't want to be told this is what you have to do. So, but I've seen a lot of businesses just really innovate, and it's been quite interesting for them. Although they might have some reduced income, I've actually found in a lot of cases the profitability is actually been still maintaining or actually been increasing, because what they've actually realized is they've actually really had a bit closer eye on their expenses. Yeah. So, and I do remember this also during the mining downturn. So I think this really, for a lot of us that are in business, we've already gone through a period of time where things were out of our control. And I just think we get
comfortable with, things start to get better. We start to get in our comfort zone and going, oh, it's okay. A bit of expense there, a bit of expense here, and it keeps adding up.
Yeah. I think this is what I definitely found during the mining downturn. I think it's very similar now. We got too busy with being busy. So what happens is then I found myself, I'm like, I end up paying like, $800 a week for a cleaner or something. I'm like, and then after the mining downturn, I'm like, that's freaking pure madness. Like, what are you doing? So sometimes you just got too busy to assess everything properly. And I know during that period of time, I've actually just taken this time to, you know, or during that period anyway, which has helped now. Okay, well, let's fix all the things that we've actually been whinging about that we could have actually had time for. So that's actually been really interesting as well to see.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So something else I have heard a couple of people talk about and ask and that sort of thing is, you know, I guess the person who's a bit of a stress head and they're going, you know, I've got cash in the bank. Are the banks, you know, are they going to be able to cope and all that type of thing? You know, what's your opinion about that?
Look, Australian banks are honestly the envy of the world. During the GFC, there wasn't even really a hit. At the moment, Australian banks have very, very strong, they're very well capitalised, they have strong liquidity and have very strong balance sheets. The boards I know have tested those liquidity ratios and all those other ratios just to, you know, because we know we're going to get reduced income during this period. We know we're going to have some of our clients actually fail to pay. And even when we've tested that, we've actually still realised we're still viable in that period. The Australian government has actually introduced a government guarantee during that GFC period, and at that time was for $1 million. So since after that period has expired, they've actually reduced that down to $250,000. But what that basically means is every account holder has they're guaranteed to be, if the bank does fail, they're guaranteed to be supported by the government up to $250,000 per account holder. Yeah. So what that means is if you have a joint account with $500,000 in it, you're actually both able to claim the $250,000. So now the wording here is account holder. So if you're like me, so you have your company and then I have a family trust that I'm a trustee for, and you might have a self-managed super fund. Each of those entities are also covered up to $250,000. So what I think, so if you have over those amounts and you are really, really concerned, then I would recommend considering transferring some of that money to another bank, basically, because each banking license is also covered up to $250,000 for each account holder. Now, the thing to be careful of, though, when you invest your money like that is that the key word there is banking license. So if I use Bank of Queensland as an example, so Bank of Queensland also own Virgin Money, and we also own BOQ Specialist. So so that's one banking license number. Yeah. So if you have money in each of those banks, you're only covered up to $250,000 per license. Yeah. So another point that I probably should make, which I think is really important, is it only covers deposit accounts. So if you have your money in a redraw, or if you have your money in like an overdraft or something like that, those monies aren't actually covered. So I might recommend, if you are concerned, to redraw those monies and put them into a mortgage offset account, or to redraw those monies and put them into an at-call account, because those monies are actually ones that are covered.
Yeah, sure. That's totally cleared it up. And I guess if anyone does have any specific questions around that, it's definitely give the team at BOQ a call.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't trust us, then go ring APRA. They're amazing, actually. I've had to actually call them a couple of times, just to make sure about a couple of things, just because you want to make sure you're saying the right thing. But yeah, APRA are amazing. So give them a call directly if you actually don't trust who you're speaking to.
Yeah, sure. Good idea. Cool. So I'd love to ask you, you know, you've obviously got a pretty large team, and, you know, although you're in banking, you guys still have had to do some things differently since COVID. You know, how did you manage to keep your team on track when things did get a little bit chaotic?
Yeah, I think probably a few things. So just the communication lines increased dramatically. So we used to have a weekly team meeting. We've actually gone back to that now, but during the height of it, sometimes we were communicating as a group, maybe like twice a day. Definitely daily it was happening. And I would also, if there were some big things that were being communicated, I also just send like a weekly email, an email after that meeting to the team, just to summarize it, just so it's all understood by everyone. I also have some people that are part-timers, so they might not have been at that meeting, so I wanted to make sure that they felt part of that communication as well. And every piece of information that I was allowed to share with them from head office, I made sure I just communicated that with them as well, even if it was just technically for the manager. really, not that I'm not normally, but had to be even more honest and open sort of during this period of time. We had actually just had a session actually with you, just talking about our team values and trying to create that as a team, because we've had some new people. And one of the values that we came up with was making sure we communicate even when it's difficult. And that was really helpful, because actually the team actually communicated with me that they actually weren't happy with me and some of the decisions that I actually made. And they felt some of those decisions were actually putting their safety at risk. So once I understood that, I actually said, okay, tell me all your issues. We actually went through them. There was actually a little bit of a list, and we actually negotiated something that they were comfortable with, and then that I was comfortable with. And the big thing on that too is I made sure I really delivered those things really quickly as well, so they could see some tangible results happening. And I actually just sort of explained to them, I haven't managed a team during a pandemic before, so I don't really know what the hell I'm doing either. But if I make a mistake, I do apologize for it. I know they appreciate that. But also too, in saying that, don't be forced into a decision. So if I don't know the answer, or I don't have that enlightenment just yet, I say I'll get back to you on that and let them know, and I'll get back to them with that. I think too, I suppose I'm lucky that I'm in a financial situation where I know I don't need to get rid of anyone. So I just sort of talk to them about, your position is okay. And I can guarantee that for 6 to 12 months. And, we might have to have another think about that during that period. But I think once they felt secure in their role, the things are less chaotic for them.
Yeah, sure.
I've also just kept them super busy. So I'm a massive believer in control what you can control. When things get chaotic like this, I focus more internally than externally. So we so what are the sort of things we've we initially didn't have some people walking through the doors that period of time. So we just created a massive list of things that we've always wanted to achieve. And I've been making them tick each of them up. So I keep them really busy. And I just sort of said to them, if we don't come out of this period of time more knowledgeable, more trained, just more, just knowing that that's really on us, and that's really a wasted opportunity. And just really taught them, gave them extra skills, how to deal empathetically with the people that we were talking to. Probably just lastly, the big thing is, it's like sort of children. This is a time especially where they're watching me more than listening to me about confirmation of how to act. So this is not the time for closed door meetings. This is not the time to be having advisors coming in and out of my office. This is not the, that's not the time, because otherwise the rumor mill starts going and I can't control what happens then. So they're looking for me of how to act. So I don't know, I'm just trying to also be the best version of myself. So I'm exercising every day with my husband. And, we're doing push-up challenges at work, and we're doing little walking challenges against another branch. And just, I don't know, lots of little things, just like paying for coffees, or I gave them little earrings at Easter time, just little things like that to know I appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah, cool. Because, one thing that I know for sure is a lot of people, particularly in the Mackay region, do look up to you as a leader in, particularly in business. But, I know a lot of women look up to you, as a great leader. And the thing that just pointed out, that's okay. And the thing that just pointed out to me was, the fact that you are okay with saying that you don't know. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think a lot of, particularly me working with quite a lot of clients in this space, I know that a lot of them think that they need to portray that they know everything and they have all of the answers and that they're in control. But can you talk a little bit more?
I know it might not seem it, but I actually have, my natural state is to actually be really quite insecure, and actually to sort of have this imposter syndrome almost. Like I feel like sometimes I'm waiting for someone to go, hey, we've actually realized you shouldn't be doing what you're doing and you should actually be back here. But I think, so just, I think I've just realized for a long time, it actually was very much, I needed to portray that I knew everything. But I think there's like an old African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I think once that switched for me, that those goals that I wanted to achieve, actually I might need other people to do that. And most of the time, as you probably noticed, I can tend to ramble and talk a lot. So, and then what I have realized is that if I actually shut the hell up, other people in my team might actually know a better answer than me. And if I allow that and actually promote that, I think once they're part of the solution, they actually sort of they help deliver that result a lot quicker.
Yeah, sure. So not only does you not pretending that you know everything, cause a little bit less pressure on yourself, but it's actually giving people an opportunity to take on more responsibility and grow in their own sense.
Yeah, and so I've taken this really to an extreme. So in the last 3 years, as probably most businesses are, we have actually a whole heap of new systems, new processes. I actually do not know how to even turn on most of those programs. I've technically attended the course, but I don't know how to input that particular type of loan, because what I've realized, I do have the tendency to protect people. I have a natural tendency to want to save them, and but I kept them from growing to their full potential. So as soon as I stop doing things like that, if I just tell them what I want to achieve, and this is how this is what good looks like to me, and I let them figure out how they need to get there.
Yeah. So you gave them a level of autonomy to know what the goal is, but allow them to do it in their own way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think because I have really come to understand, my business is not worth anything. Like that, you literally can't sell it for $1. I don't believe anyway, if you're attached to every single task that you do. So I've happily, and the girls laugh at me, clients laugh at me. I do a lot of the strategy, and I do a lot of the concepts, and with clients, and work out, I think, what we're going to do. And then I'll actually introduce them. Look, this is actually the person that does all the hard work. And I'm very honest and upfront with them about that. And you know what, a lot of the self-employed clients that I deal with, they actually respect that too, because to grow my business, I can't be attached to every task.
100%. I think I'm actually really pleased where this conversation is going, because, number one, a lot of people have a perception of what a good leader is. And number two, I know that a lot of business owners, they've started their business in a sense to gain a level of freedom, yet they're, like you said, they're attached to every single task, which, has the pressure of, if I get sick or if I'm not here, my business crumbles or sells for not even $1. So again, we can utilize the time that we have during COVID to start helping our team grow their potential, help upskill, experience, so that we can start to delegate some more, so that they can do the tasks that we think we need to do.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I go on holidays at least once a year. That's probably the first thing. I make sure I still take holidays, because I think honestly that mining downturn really changed me, to be honest. So once I understood that sometimes, I was speaking to people who were getting divorced after 30 years, or whose marriages, whose business had broken down and went bankrupt, and maybe they're having heart attacks at 60. And I'm like, what the hell am I saving everything for this rainy day for? Why am this business I do love, and it's my original baby, but it can't be all that I'm defined by. So I need to, so when I go on holidays, I actually do not take my mobile. I don't receive a phone call for that whole 4 weeks. And I think that's why I go overseas, because it's, I actually know I physically can't solve anything. And that actually just gives me extra relief to relax.
Yeah, which is sort of a good battle test, to know that you've got the systems in place, and you've got the right people in place to make sure that the business keeps on turning even when you're not there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the first thing you can do is, so when someone's coming to you with a question, I get these questions a lot of time during the day. So it's, well, what would you do if I wasn't here? That's sometimes the first question that I ask. So, and then, because a lot of the time, they're just actually seeking confirmation. They're not actually really asking you, what to do.
Yeah, sure. So that sort of leads me into my next question, which is, sort of what I was talking about earlier. If there is a small business owner who is struggling a little bit because
Yeah.
maybe they weren't ready for this, maybe they didn't have a contingency plan, whatever it might have been, what would your advice as a business owner and someone in the banking, I guess, industry, what would be your advice for those people?
Probably two things. I think firstly, this is not the time. I'm very much a person that doesn't like to ask for help. Initially, I do try to do things by myself. So, but I do also understand this is not the time to not ask for help. So I'm reaching out to people, but I'm also being very conscious of who I'm reaching out to. So I'm having talks with myself, like, did that interaction with that person actually drain me or did it energize me? Because it is going to be hard enough during this time to lift up myself so I can lift up my people, and maintain some sort of family connection as well. But I do not have any extra to give to people who are draining. That's just sort of the first and foremost. I'm also talking a lot to my team about this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. So to be honest, in the banking world, this is actually really a bit of an easy time for us because we're able to say yes to pretty much anybody. Yes, we can help you do this. Yes, we can help you do that. But the hard bit's actually going to be in 6 months' time, 3 months' time, where, regardless of how much money we throw at their business, it still isn't viable. So I'm really talking to my team a lot about we need to maintain our energy levels we need to find an operating rhythm like at about 80%.
Yeah.
Because if you go have these really high highs and these really low lows, it is so draining. So we need to find that pace that we can operate at, where we still deliver empathetically to our clients, still deliver what we need to deliver as a business, but also make sure we're not zombies by the end of it as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it's really people actually asking for help, I think $10,000 grant just came out yesterday or the day before, which I think is awesome because they're allowing people to go, hey, let's do some marketing, let's get a coach or let's get a specialist in to really help us during this time. So it's number one, it's asking for that help, and number two, it's like you said, business and forever has always been a marathon, and I guess businesses need to be able to do the things that are going to help them last that marathon rather than burn out before they get.
And this is the time to do things that are most important too. So what do they say? Eat that frog in the morning. Don't do the things that really don't deliver any value right now.
Yeah, sure. So you did mention a few things, with your team specifically around, you're doing extra communication, you're really keeping them up to date and all that sort of, because I think for a lot of people, they are a little bit scared and they are a little bit worried about what the future looks like. So how have you been able to maintain, I guess, a strong culture during this particular time?
For me, honestly, it's I'm not that I'm not generally a person that avoids difficult conversations, but I might delay them. So I also recognize this is not a time to be doing delaying. So honestly, as soon as I see something that I don't like, or as soon as something I see that I need to question, I'm actually on top of that straight away. So sometimes I might leave that a day or two, see if they're actually still doing it, then maybe talk to them. Yeah, this is not the time. So I'm on top of anything I don't like, I'm actually questioning straight away. And I've had some really big, difficult conversations with some of my team, and I've just remembered, I suppose, that the result of it hasn't actually been what I've feared. It's actually generally the result of those difficult conversations has actually been far exceeded my expectations. So, and I'm just making sure that I just keep reminding the team, we need to be really kind to each other during this period. So we don't know, we need to be kind to our clients. And extra special, we don't know what situation that's happening between their four walls at home. This is the time. I'm a really big believer in, I'm a hard taskmaster, and I really want you to work really hard for me, but I'm also get the hell out of here when it's 5 o'clock. Go home to your families, because we spend so much time together that, we spend more time together than with our loved ones. So I want to make this time our time together. We don't have to be best friends, and sometimes we're not. But, you know, we always just make sure we respect each other and just be kind to each other.
Yeah.
And I just keep reminding of that. Yeah.
So for you, it's consistent communication about, you know, making sure we are kind, making sure we are respectful, making sure we are treating each other the way, you know, to a certain standard, and also nipping anything in the bud before it gets too big.
Yeah. Definitely. I think at one point too, I had to actually tell the team it might be wise maybe to not go home and just be careful of what you're absorbing on social media, be careful of what you're absorbing on the TV, the radio, because it can be just extra draining during this period, and just to make sure we're the best ourselves we can be. Maybe we might have some periods of time, I can't control that, but that was helpful for a couple of them, because I had sort of noticed their anxiety levels were really increasing. And yeah, it's because you could never escape COVID. Like, it was literally slapped in your face every single time that you did anything. Yeah, but maybe just turn some things off for the moment.
Yeah. You know, that was one of the best pieces of advice I got about 4 years ago, was stop watching the news. So, you know, for me, I don't watch the news, but I research specific, I guess, professionals that, you know, genuinely know what they're talking about, and I keep myself updated in that sense, because
that way,
the you know, the fear, and it's all just fact.
Yes. Yep.
So for anyone who wants to reduce their anxiety, I recommend that.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we're like at the moment, we now that we're allowed to sort of exercise we all actually did on the weekend the Mount Blackwood walk. So we all met there at 5:45 in the morning, and yeah, we took 2 hours to go up and down, and just to have those little moments, just forcing the activity, the behaviors that are actually just are desirable for them personally and for me as a business owner. Just, you know, creating those environments, creating those opportunities.
Yeah, and you know, that's great leadership as well, you know, because you're not, even though some people might go, oh, I don't really want to wake up, or I don't want to go for a walk, you know.
It was really hard. It was so dark.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, it's benefiting everyone. It's out of the office, it's in fresh air. It's, it's a win-win.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we've covered quite a lot. I think, you know, we've really knuckled down on a few points. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Probably, I just think as in business, I think just, you know, I suppose everyone's looking at the technology and, you know, how they sort of innovate sort of that way. But I think just this is the time to question everything. So I know actually my husband is actually, because he works alongside me. So he's actually taken long service leave during this time, because we actually had too many people in one space. So we needed to get rid of a couple of people. So that was the best person to remove from that situation. But because of this upskilling, actually, what I've actually realized is I actually don't, that role specifically that he filled, I actually probably don't need it anymore. So I'm actually moving him into another part of the business that actually was actually more of an income driver that I've actually reached capacity at. So I think just be prepared during this time to maybe flip the switch, do things that maybe are uncomfortable, and just see what the results are. You may be surprised.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Poor Jason, he's out of a job.
He's more than fine.
No, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Melissa. This has been really great, and I look forward to hearing what, I guess, people get from it. And I'm sure, you know, if anyone has any questions, please do reach out to Melissa or myself, and we'd be happy to help.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
That's okay. Thanks, Melissa.